Good morning. My name is Tim Paul, and I am the co-founder of Critical. Critical is an easy-to-use reporting system and feedback tool for small to medium-sized businesses. So September 2017, I was working as a leadership development consultant here in Charlotte. Had a good network, got lucky, landed a couple gigs, and I was working with executives and their employees on how to build better cultures and better leaders inside these businesses. Did it for about a year, worked with 6 businesses here in Charlotte, and I realized something. I was fixing the same exact problem in every single business I walked into. This is a problem that we now know costs our target market $250 billion every single year. It absolutely ravages cultures inside of organizations. And frankly, 40% of leaders are now getting fired for something culture related. So let's take ABC Corporation, for example. I was working with leaders at ABC Corporation, and they couldn't figure out why their employees were bored, disinterested, frankly, they were unhappy, why their supervisors were always over-supervising, and why turnover was way higher than they wanted it to be. So what I realized was the problem was that leaders had no idea what was actually going on inside their business. They had no idea the problems that were happening inside their business because employees didn't have a safe and easy way to report them. Communication always flowed from the top down, and there was no 360-degree feedback. That's why we built Critical, because there's an enormous opportunity here. There are hundreds and thousands of businesses just like ABC Corporation. Now, as I mentioned, Critical is an incident reporting tool and feedback tool for small businesses. So what does that mean? When an employee has something they want to fix, report, or change, they send an alert to a designated company leader. Now, Critical can take feedback and reports anonymously and non-anonymously. So we do everything in a two-way real-time dialogue fashion. So when an alert is sent, an employee that reported it and a designated leader are connected in real time through an interface that looks exactly like texting. They're basically texting through this alert. Now, I said that it can take things anonymously. It's true, but you can also toggle on your identity throughout the app in the event that you want to reveal your identity so your leaders can get ahead of the problems that you reported. Leaders can also request feedback through Critical, both non-anonymously and anonymously. So this is huge for our target market that doesn't have fully flushed out HR teams. They still need to get ahead of problems quickly. I mean, think about the most severe, like sexual harassment. Think about workplace violence, all the way to the most benign, but still insanely important, like how do we fix company morale? That's what helps prevent turnover. That's what helps keep employees engaged and keeps them happy and working hard for you. Now, our product is simple, but our mission is even more simple. We want to make work a better place. Our competitors, they want to just survey you to death. So we know that we can beat time-consuming employee surveys. We can absolutely destroy the antiquated hotline, and we can destroy what some of you have may seen in your businesses, which is the suggestion box. Now, we absolutely know that our real-time feature is a huge advantage for us. We absolutely know that. Everything we're doing in Critical is meant to reduce the friction and fear of reporting. And we know that reporting things in real time, connecting leaders with employees is the way to go. And here's a bonus. All that negative crap that finds itself on Glassdoor about your company, you start to keep that in-house. Now, we've started ramping up our target market and our sales processes. We're looking for companies with frontline employees that have a large contingent of, shall we say, frontline workers. So people that don't always have access to company email, that are on their feet all day. Think about people that roll up their sleeves at a manufacturing plant, educate our children, maybe the people that are taking care of us in a hospital. Those are the people that we're looking for. Those are the people that still have a phone in their back pocket and still have a ton of insight to give. We've started interviewing and getting with leaders of these companies, and they agree with our assessment of the problem. That's why we have 3 companies that are currently signed, 2 that are about to sign, and 1, an independent school here in Charlotte, that is actually going to roll this out in their school at the next roll of the calendar year. They agree with our pricing. It's very reasonable. We operate on a tiered SaaS subscription model, and our monthly goal of 20,000 MRR by the midsummer will only take 5,000 users. That's 50 100-person businesses, 10 500-person businesses, or just Albemarle Chemical. So we're not very far away. Our leadership team, we think, has a distinct advantage in the marketplace. My co-founder and CTO, John Alexander, who's in the crowd right now. What's up, John? Him and I are both naval officers, former veterans, and we understand the challenges of leadership. We understand why if you don't check your culture, it will check you, and it will check you in a very big way. Frankly, John and I wish we would have had critical when we were in the active duty. Thank you.
First? Okay.
I don't want to go first.
Okay. That was excellent, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. So I know a fair amount about Glassdoor. They were down the street from me where I just moved from, and I know that they focus heavily on negativity, right? And so C-level leaders, for those of you not familiar with Glassdoor, are really concerned about those employees that are fired or leave with negative experiences and then they're posting. So they have a bit of an Amazon review problem, which is people who post are sort of like ones or fives, right? They don't get the middle. What I like about your solution is that it focuses more on like that preventative thing. So talk a little bit about how you quantify that for potential customers, meaning the businesses that you work with, about how you frame that as in like what you could prevent from sort of that negative noise.
Sure, there's actually two ways that we can sell this product, and we toggle between the leader that we're talking to. And the one way that we do it is frankly through a risk management standpoint. We're preventing things that haven't happened yet. Now, selling fear in the future is really hard, but if we can frame that in a way where we're pressing this problem as a real-time solution to problems you just haven't discovered yet, that resonates with about 50% of our target market. The other 50% are going to be the more progressive leaders, the ones that are just doing absolutely everything they can to build a better culture. We frame this as, this is just a way to support the culture you're already building. Let's validate everything you're putting into the culture, whether you've hired a leadership development consultant or you're bringing in online training. Let's see if it's actually working. Go ahead, get that feedback, let your people know, I care about you, I want to take care of you, but you got to give me the honest truth because I can't get any better if you don't. We can toggle that sales message as well. So one way or the other, the hard risk management or the soft, more progressive culture change and supporting culture is really how we found success.
Hey man, how are you?
What's up, Chris?
So you've made a lot of progress
Thanks, man.
on the product. So, you know, I think one of the most important things to remember during a pitch is you got to just sort of methodically work yourself through the checklist that someone is going through, right? So for me, it's like, get quickly to the problem, how the product works and solves it, how you're going to make money, what the biggest outcome that I can imagine is from a market, why you're the best team, what are you asking for, where's the technical moat, and how much traction do you have that proves that someone will buy it, right? That's not perfect order, but I guess, so I think you're naturally really excited about it and you want to tell about these like real life examples.
Right.
And I think when you have a 5-minute sort of time frame, you've really got to think to yourself, let me get through this, because the examples you want is meeting 2. What you want to do is get me through and get me thinking, wow, I can create a really good return on this investment. I want to hear about the stories and the application. So I think you have all the information, generally speaking. I think there's still, there were still a few things missing in there, but I think you could reframe this in a way and kind of get through that checklist a little bit faster. But all in all, I think you've got a nice solution. I like the fact that you have traction. I'd like to know whether those are those paying customers or those proof of concepts?
Yes.
I mean, don't bury that, right? That's a really important aspect. But I think with a little reshuffling, you'll have something that you can just kind of go through and you'll get people pretty excited about it.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that.
I would echo that. Is the ending felt really rushed. Like I would focus on what are they paying, what are going to be the measures of success for those testing companies, and then also what's the ask for the investment, how is that going to be used.
Right.
So some of that quantitative stuff at the end felt really hurried. So you kind of got us hooked in early, so get to that information faster.
And that's a good one with HR tech, especially on something like this that feels a little bit qualitative, like culture.
Right.
The ability to say, how do you keep stratified, right? So are you measuring employee turnover? Is there something very specific that you can go back? Because I always worry sometimes with these things where it's like, is it the first thing on the chopping block because it's just too, it's too opaque. I can't really understand what I'm getting on the back end.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. I liked it. I love the fact that you've got some sales.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
So you can sell to customers, right?
Yes, we can.
And I love your pricing slide. I think that's really cool too. And I'd echo some of what these guys said as well. You could do your pitch in 3 minutes. I think that a lot of times people think like if you've got 10 minutes, I'm going to give you 99 minutes of that is going to be the big parts, right? Because you've been working on this for a long time. You've been thinking about it every single day. You have so much to share, right? But you just want to hit your main points, right? And then that way you don't feel as rushed at the end, if that makes sense. So if you're going in for a 5-minute pitch, practice doing that in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. If you're going in for a 10-minute, get through your meat, right, in about 75% of your time. And that way you don't feel rushed at the end. I think I'm going to echo what Chris said as well in terms of structure. So you want to write out the structure of the points that you want to make and the structure of your presentation and then follow that. Because what's happening now is you're sprinkling really great information throughout, but if it flowed in a way that a person who doesn't know who you are and doesn't understand anything about it is going to understand and consume, does that make sense?
No.
So you're taking somebody like down the stairs at a step at a time so that they get to the bottom. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Is it true that 40% of all CEOs are fired because of culture problems?
Yeah, everything I put up there is true.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. That's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic.
I didn't mean to be condescending.
I love that. You know, I had to grab something, and I want to make that point too, right? Yeah, man, I thought it was great. You can use your story as your problem statement. And the other thing I would say is you always want to state your problem before your solution, so don't say what your thing does.
Okay.
Go launch right into the problem or launch right into your story. And your structure of your story, make sure you're hitting those points that you're trying to make throughout.
Yeah,
Does that
use
make sense?
ABC as your first story, as your intro.
Yeah.
Understood. Got it.
Yeah. That's cool. So when did Stratified was the first company that you went live with?
No, they are one of the ones that I mentioned that we're at the finish line with. So
Okay.
we're meeting with their head of HR and their CEO next week, and we're really excited
Cool.
about it.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Have you gone live yet with anybody?
We actually go live in 2 weeks. John actually coded the product himself, sourced and coded everything in-house. And we're going live
Great
in
job.
2 weeks on the 16th.
Cool.
Yes.
Good job, man.
Thank you so much.
Maybe questions in the
Oh.
audience or Chris? Oh. Any questions? We have a few minutes left.
Yes,
So at the outset, you have some very different customers that you list.
that's correct.
Have they told you what they're trying to achieve with this mechanism? What are the success indicators of it did what you said it would do?
Sure, I wish I could give you some really hard success indicators. Unfortunately, we haven't rolled it out yet, but I can tell you what people are excited about. From an HR perspective, they are intensely excited to get feedback. They want feedback constantly. I can't say the same thing about the CEOs because sometimes they don't want to know all the popcorn that's popping, but that's HR's job is to know all the popcorn that's popping and they can get ahead of those problems. CEOs are inherently interested in saving money. They want to know that the problems that have, especially for our small and medium-sized businesses, the ones that a sexual harassment litigation suit could actually collapse the business, they want to make sure they're covered from that, or anything EEOC related, employer liability, et cetera. So they want to know I'm protected and I don't have to, go to sleep at night worrying about if somebody's, sexually harassing my entire workforce or not. And then HR knows, hey, I'm getting all this great feedback so we can build this wonderful culture that develops, attracts, and retains talent, which we know in this day and age is exceptionally hard to do. So if they can actually have a culture that is a marketing tool for them, HR feels really happy about that.
Where you have a centralized database where you can identify common themes or other things?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we do have a survey that collects all this data, but we've done some research and we know that all of our companies don't want to know or want to know that their dirty laundry is not in somebody else's hands. So we've imposed encryption protection on our server. So any company that uses our product, we honestly have no idea what's going on inside of the business. Now we can see that things are getting reported, but it's just a series of numbers and letters to us. So we tell all of our clients, if you lose your data, don't come asking for it from us because we honest to God don't have it. We cannot replace your data. We cannot see it. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Question, have you quantified your overall costs of the development and the ongoing costs of maintaining the server?
Sure, and that's one thing we're really proud of. This is actually a really low-cost business to at least get off the ground with. And I give John a ton of credit because John and I are both going without salary right now. So we're not taking a dime, and John's coded it all himself. And frankly, if you could do things yourself, you save a ton of money in doing that. We've only spent about $5,000 to get to where we are right now. And that's just by some bare bones marketing, getting out and traveling and talking to different businesses, and just getting some of the things that you need to get off the ground, whether it's legal, compliance, some of our accounting, some of our accounting wickets taken care of. So right now, to answer your question, it's been a very low cost project for us. But as we start to scale, we need support teams and customer service managers and success managers. And somebody's going to need to take the coding off of John's plate. We understand that we're going to have to probably be more labor intensive, at least early on, to get this thing really, really going.
Anybody have a quick comment?
Oh, yeah, quick comment.
Yes,
So
please.
just a suggestion for sort of a low-cost go-to-market approach would
Please.
be, I think you're really aligned with a lot of investors right now. Like you look at WeWork and Uber and things just tanking because of culture. So I think one option is to go to work with some investment firms where you access their entire portfolio.
Certainly.
And then your values are aligned.
Certainly. And if I may, just real quickly, you got me super excited. We're actually working with HR consultants because we know that we can actually deliver better insights for them to do their job better. So we've partnered with them that have
Great.
organizations out there, and they're actually starting to sell the products for us, which we're really
Great.
excited. So they're going to get embedded into that company's ID and password, so they get the insights along with the CEO. And because of that, they do their job better, and for us, they're actually selling our product for us. So we're really excited about that. Thanks, Mom.